this would be sent to people who registered. So we're now recording.
Okay, I guess we can get started. What I'd like to do is again, thank everybody for participating in the first of the Resilience Action Forums. This is an exciting time for all of us who are in the Department of Resilience to Public Works and everybody in the Resilience Action Group for the city to be part of this greater discussion with the community about our resilience efforts. I would like to start by introducing Mayor Suarez. I believe he is logged in to provide some introductory comments, and then we'll go through the format and some of the rules of the road on how we're going to structure this meeting, and then hopefully start a very good engagement on how we are working towards our resilience goals and how we're working in partnership with all of you to achieve those goals. So if Mayor Suarez is on, or someone from his office, is the mayor ready to join?
He unmuted.
Yep. Okay, I think we'll give the mayor one more minute. Sounds like he's getting ready. I do see a number of the staff are also joining in. Okay, Mayor Suarez, if he is not prepared to talk, what I can do is I can go into the next part. We'll talk the agenda and the activities that we do. Oh, there's the mayor now. I see him coming in.
Hey guys, how's it going? How's everyone doing?
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you.
We just started and we have approximately 46 participants from the community that have logged in addition to 15 members of the staff. So a good participation for this first of the Resilience Action Forums.
And in terms of how we're doing it, the participants are basically watching, and then they're watching us have our meeting, or how does that work?
Okay, so what we'll be doing, Mayor, is for the initial part, they're all attendees. And what we're going to do is go through an introductory presentation about the Resilience Action Forum, the Resilience Action Group, and how all these pieces come together. Spend about 10 minutes talking about the rules of the road for it. And then we'll open up for an engagement with the public. And what we'll ask them to do is, because we have so many people who are participating, to raise their hand so that we will activate them so they can talk. And we'll try and moderate the discussion so everybody is not talking over each other. And then either the appropriate staff members can respond to whatever the questions are, or to help to spread the information about what their concerns are.
Great. So thank you. And I think you wanted me to make some introductory comments. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Alan, for for this opportunity. This is sort of a dream come true for me, and a vision that I had, which is to really demonstrate to the public what are all our operational assets with regards to resiliency. I think, understandably, there was a lot of concern with some of the changes that were happening over the last few months with the budget. And I want to give the community comfort that we are taking this issue as seriously as we ever have, that we are providing a tremendous amount of resources, and that resiliency is not something that we think is vested only in a CRO or in someone who runs a resiliency component of our public works and resiliency department. But resiliency really is something that has to be a government-wide attitude. And that's why our Resiliency Action Forum and Committee is important, because it demonstrates our commitment to resiliency as something that affects not just climate, but affects us economically and affects our recovery from COVID. So it's important that people understand how we view this in a more macro and in a more institutional concept. So I just want to just highlight a couple of things that we've accomplished just in the last month, which we had, we had sort of foreshadowed, but we got it done. And, one of them, of course, is our solar initiative, which allows us to build solar panels above and beyond the height of T4s and T5s and other structures that would otherwise have a height limitation, and give some standards for solar and define solar in the appropriate way. And then we also implemented an electric vehicle piece of legislation, which requires a certain percentage of parking spaces have electric vehicle readiness, which again is part of us transitioning from carbon to a carbon neutral city. I know that Alan and his team are working very hard on our carbon neutrality plan, which we're going to be able to give some top lines of in the State of the City in January. And then we'll be hopefully ready for Earth Day, which is what our objective is. And the other thing I like to highlight is we're not just focused on carbon, and we're not just focused on obviously solar and electric vehicles. We're also focused on our bay. And I really want to commend the commissioners, including the chairman, Vice Chairman Russell, for instituting the new legislation, which allows us to shut down job sites that pollute, revoke CUs, and increases the fines that we can implement towards builders who are polluting our bay. There's a lot of work to be done in this space. The reason why I wanted to do it this way was because I wanted all the resources that we have as a community, right? The resources from our city, which is not just our CRO or not just our Resiliency and Public Works Department, but also we have our planning director on the phone. On the line. We have our budget director. We have an assistant city manager. We have our zoning director. We have our community development director. So we have all of the different resources that the city brings together to talk about resiliency. You can't have resiliency without having housing. You can't have resiliency without being able to deal with the shock of COVID. You can't have resiliency without taking seriously sea level rise and the impact on our climate. So all of that comes together in this Resiliency Action Group. And then I think probably the strongest part of our community in our city is all of you. All of you members of our community that are really focusing on your time and energy in keeping our bay clean, in wanting advocacy to continue to keep our bay from getting contaminated, in making sure that our water quality is great, making sure that you hold us accountable. And I would say, lastly, before turning it over, we want to be accountable in this government. We want to create accountability tools. And so one of the things that I've talked to our director of IT is the ability of having an accountability website. We want you to know when our Miami Forever projects are starting, what they're doing, what they're hoping to accomplish. We want to have a heat index, which we've already gotten obviously tremendous information on that front. We want to have, hopefully at some point, a flooding index on monitors. We want to be able to talk about how much carbon is in our air and how we're reaching our goals of decarbonizing our environment. And then, of course, things like tree planting. We want to be accountable on tree planting. We want to show this is our tree planting plan, and this is how much oxygen or carbon dioxide we can convert to oxygen. And we want to be accountable to you as residents to see how we can increase our canopy responsibly over time. So that's my vision. I want to thank Jose Regalado, who's also on the phone from the manager's office, who's done a magnificent job. Just so many people. And he's also been a member of the Sea Level Rise Committee that I helped create as a commissioner. There's so many people here that are on the phone from a governmental perspective that have really come together to make our city really a model in the world, and we continue to be a model in the world. We have a long way to go, and we're committed to going there.
Thank you very much, Mayor Suarez. And I think you hit the key pieces, the public involvement in everything that we're doing here with so many initiatives going on. What I'd like to do very quickly is just go through quickly and a very short presentation on how this fits into our big strategy. And then one of the big topics that we've been talking about a lot lately has been our greenhouse gas mitigation plan. And a number of the public have been asking questions about when it will start and how it'll be going. So she'll give you a very short overview of the project itself, at which time we'll open it up for the engagement portion of the forum today. Okay, so you should be seeing my slide now on our framework. And many of this you are probably familiar with, anyone who's been involved in the resilience discussions, but there's really two forms of resilience that we focus on. The first is urban resilience, and the second part is climate resilience. Urban resilience really deals more with the shocks and stressors on dealing with people and in a holistic part in our communities. Whereas the climate resilience part, which is where we do a lot of the work in the city as the owners and maintainers of the public infrastructure, is dealing with the environmental shocks and stressors, dealing with climate change, whether it's sea level rise, hurricanes, extreme heat. But that's where you see a lot of our efforts moving forward. We don't just do this work ad hoc. We do have a couple very important strategic documents that we fall back on to guide us in this effort. And you should be very aware of these two documents I'm going to discuss. If you don't have them, I would recommend getting a copy and we can provide them to you electronically. The first one is the Resilient 305 strategy. This was put together with our partners in Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County, and really focuses on resilience efforts in 3 areas: dealing with places within South Florida, Miami-Dade, dealing with the people, dealing with health issues and empowerment of neighborhoods, and then the pathways that get us to those goals. Again, if you have not read this document, I really do recommend it because it has so many valuable pieces of information in it to show you where the city and the region are going. Okay, and really it focuses on two parts. The first part is how we are adapting to the current environment, and that is very reactive in nature. We're trying to react to things that are currently occurring. And a great example of that is how we're putting in one-way tidal valves to adapt to the reality of sea level rise. The second part is mitigation, and that's where we're trying to be proactive. And really that's where you get the greatest benefit out of these resilient efforts, is trying to foresee what is coming and taking steps to prevent it or changing what that future will be. And the greenhouse gas mitigation plan is a prime example of where we're trying to reduce our greenhouse gases to keep temperatures from rising even more than they have already. Yeah. The second document is the City of Miami's Miami Forever Climate Ready strategy. And this really focuses in a little bit more detail on what we're doing in both a proactive and a reactive manner to deal with our climate challenges. If you open it up, you'll see we have 5 goals, which are laid out on the slide, focusing on making decisions that are data-driven, human-centered, informing, preparing, engaging residents and businesses, protect and enhance our waterfront, investing in resilient and smart infrastructure, and finally promoting adaptive neighborhoods and buildings. Within those 5 main goals, there's 15 objectives and 86 supporting actions. And you'll see a lot of what we talk about in resilience, whether it's the ordinances, the construction projects, or different programs, are all tied to one or more of these objectives. How does it really drive what we're doing? Those are the guiding documents that leads into our city's strategic plan. And resilience is one of the cornerstones of our strategic plan that drives budget, it drives policy decisions, it drives everything that we are trying to achieve as a city staff, as a forum with the neighborhoods, with the businesses, and with everybody who lives here, with our neighbors in other cities and the county. Okay, so how does this forum fit into it? As we're trying to come up with our resilience agenda and to implement it, there's a number of different forums, and some of these you may have heard of and some won't, but I'm going to start on the bottom right side, the Climate Resilience Committee. These are subject matter experts that are appointed by the mayor or the city manager or the commissioners to serve on this commission and help to look at policy decisions, make recommendations, and review what we're doing in our resilience efforts to use their subject matter expertise and help to advise the city commission when we make recommendations. As we are working through that, and I'm going counterclockwise, our Resilience Action Group is the internal staff members that take guidance and recommendations from the mayor, from the commissioners, from the public, and try and put it into policies or integrate it into our budget and other documents. And really that's the city manager's office, all of the assistant city managers, the city manager, a number of department directors, and then some specialty staff. You all know that I'm in the Department of Resilience and Public Works, and our entire division for resilience and sustainability are within our department. And this Resilient Action Forum is the ability for us to bridge out to the communities. And that's what we're trying to do here, to increase the engagement back and forth, to tell you about what we are working on, priorities, and how we can get your involvement to a greater level in those efforts. Okay, and finally, on the bottom left side, you have the PIVOT team. PIVOT stands for Progress, Innovation, and Vision for Our Tomorrow. These really are the resilience leadership within Miami, Greater Miami and the beaches. So it's us, Miami-Dade County, and Miami Beach, as we're trying to work together, because a lot of the solutions that we talk about when it comes to resilience require a regional approach and not just within one city. So the Resilience Action Forum is a new thing that we'll be doing once a month to try and increase this engagement, to inform you and to get feedback from you on the direction that we're going. In order to make this effective, because we only have 1 hour, what we ask you to do, if you have specific topics or questions you want to have raised up in it, that you send those questions to resilience@miamigov.com. And that'll enable us to have the right staff here to either answer the question or to get an answer to you directly. At the beginning of it, we'll have the mayor and or the city manager give some type of comments about priorities that we're currently working on. And then we'll try and answer some of those questions and get some information out about our current initiatives and priorities, any meetings that we have coming up that you may wish to participate in, and also a short presentation if we need to get into detail a little bit more on a topic of concern. Really, this is about sharing information, so we want to be responsive to what you need. When we get into the open forum, what we ask is that so everybody's not stepping over each other, use the raise hand button or the chat box to let us know when you want to talk so that we can promote you. And then we'll try and organize the discussion and call on people to ask your questions and then give you answers. We do ask, as we're doing this, try and be considerate of others. We have more than 60 people who are participating right now. And so a lot of people who want to ask questions, try to share the time with them and let everybody have a say in what we're talking about. And the final thing is, this is the first one, and this is all about you, the community members who are part of our resilience team that we're putting together. And so if there's ways that we can improve this forum, let us know what we can do so we can adjust and keep on making this a more responsive and a better forum for the future. So with that, what I'd like to do is stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to be handing it over to Alyssa Farina, who's going to very briefly talk about the greenhouse gas mitigation plan.
Thanks, Alan. And I just wanted to mention to all the people who are on and watching, this first Resilience Action Forum is probably much more presentation and talk heavy than the ones we plan for in the future. You know, we just want to level set, make sure we're all on the same page. In the future ones will probably have a bit more dialogue than what we're doing today. So Alan, you all can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So our greenhouse gas mitigation plan, hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay, we did this bit already. Adaptation mitigation. Our adaptation plan is Miami Forever Climate Ready. That was released in January. So notable actions in that: the Forever Bond flooding funding, the Stormwater Master Plan, resilience hubs. Those are big adaptation initiatives for the city. So now that we have this strategy out, we have a lot of these programs and initiatives underway. We as the city of Miami have been able to pivot towards carbon mitigation. So this work really kicked off and started to move more quickly in January of this year. Seems like forever ago. The city joined the C40 Cities Network, which is a network of basically 100 mega cities across the world that are leading on climate action, both reducing greenhouse gas emissions as well as adaptation, which is kind of new and an opportunity for the city of Miami to work with other cities around the world to share our expertise. So the mayor's goal of carbon neutrality by 2050 has been, was informed by us joining this network. And that goal of carbon neutrality by 2050 is in alignment with the Paris Climate Accord goal of keeping global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and ideally below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So that goal in the city is moving forward with carbon neutrality in alignment with this Paris Climate Accord goal. We've heard from many community members saying carbon neutrality by 2050 is not ambitious enough. So I wanted to clarify that the goal is to achieve full carbon neutrality by 2050. The strategy and the pathway to get there is going to be steep greenhouse gas reductions over the next decade. So while the overall goal, that's pretty far away, we're really going to be thinking about in this strategy what we can do in the next 10 years to make the biggest impact, especially what's in the jurisdiction of the city of Miami to have the most impact. So among other cities in North America, we're in good company with our per capita emissions. As of our 2018 greenhouse gas emissions inventory, we have 7.4 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per person in the city of Miami. C40 Cities' goal is to bring us and all other cities down to 2 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per person by 2030. So we do have a long way to go. That's one of the metrics that we're going to be using to measure success along the way. So our key partner for this greenhouse gas reduction and carbon mitigation strategy is AECOM. They have helped create over 50 climate action plans worldwide. They work with national and worldwide organizations that lead on climate action. So that's C40 Cities, the World Bank, Bloomberg Philanthropies, the Global Resilient Cities Network. So they have a lot of experience on what it takes and all of the resources that are available on the global level. And I will say a really great through line for our work is that some of the members of the team that helped us, Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County, with the Resilient 305 plan are on the team that are helping us with this greenhouse gas reduction plan. So they are they're understanding of the local context of the existing actions that the city has committed to. So that will help us streamline all of these efforts that Alan was talking about before. So shout out to Lauren Swan and Claire Bonham Carter. So this plan, the overall process has 6 steps: doing a baseline inventory, forecasting, setting emission targets, creating actions, implementing those, and then in time, doing future greenhouse gas inventories to monitor and evaluate those actions. So step 1, complete. We did the inventory for the year 2018, and that is going to be used as the baseline for our emission reductions for this strategy. We saw that 41% of the city's emissions came from transportation, that's citywide, and 52% were from buildings, both residential and commercial. So those are 2 major sectors that we'll be focusing on when we're thinking about how we can reduce energy use and scale back greenhouse gas emissions. The next steps that we're working on now is emissions forecasting, target setting, and action development. So by forecasting, this involves just taking what we're doing now and saying, if the city continues on the path that it's on now, what will the emissions of the city look like going out to 2050. Then we, create a pathway that shows us what would it look like to reduce to carbon neutrality by 2050. And then we do a gap analysis to say that is the reduction that we need to make. So that's how we come up with the targets. And those will be broken down by sector, so that way we can see where we can have the greatest impact from the city's jurisdiction, but as well thinking about what actions are going to have the greatest impact on the city overall. So we're thinking in an ambitious way, but also we want to think in a practical way that what can we realistically do? So the timeline for this, we kicked off in September of this year. We're working on emission forecasting and target setting, as I mentioned. By January, we should have the emission reduction target numbers to be announced to the public. And shortly after that, or around the same time, is when we're thinking that we will start public engagement around this plan. That time we chose because once we have the numbers, we'll be able to start thinking about generally what the actions are, and then we can engage the public on what is the best manner of implementation. So that's kind of what we were thinking of, how we would be working with the public on this. So that's a quick overview of this initiative, and of course we're here to have a conversation. So with that, I will conclude.
Thank you very much. And at this time, I know that people have a lot of questions or comments you would like to make. So what we would like to do is open this up and give you a chance to talk and to let us know if we're going in the right direction and answer any questions that you may have. And I think I see William Quinlan has raised his hand. So William, if you would like to go ahead.
Hi, I got a lot of questions, but I think this is really great so far. I was just wondering, these PowerPoints, will these be accessible and available online? That's the only question I really have right now.
Of course, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And as the mayor said, we are working to completely redo our resilience website. And our intent is we will create a page just for these resilience action forums, and we will store all of the presentations and information there so that you'll be able to access it anytime. Okay, I see, yes, Mayor?
I was just going to say that, I'm looking here at the board of all the people from our administration. What I like about this resiliency action group is it's rare that we ever get a chance, the public gets a chance to interact with this many department heads. That they can, there's oftentimes, I'm in so many meetings where we ask a question and we're like, oh, well, budget's not on. You know what I mean? Or, oh, well, and I know, Chris, I love you. Or our parks department's not on, or our building department's not on, or our zoning or planning or whatever. Here, everybody's on. So I think it's really a great opportunity too, if you have questions that, that we have people here to answer it.
Okay, I see the Clio Institute. I'm not sure who is there, but
Hi, it's Olivia. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Thank you so much for having the call today. I had a quick 2 questions. Are the questions that are submitted via email going to be addressed live during these meetings so everyone else can hear them, so we don't have a lot of double asks? And my second question was about the public outreach that you plan on doing in January and March, since COVID might still be a big problem for the community. And I guess this is really like an early planning stages, I'm sure, but what are some ideas you had to work around that and to reach the public to talk about the greenhouse gas mitigation plan?
okay, I'll take the first question as far as the questions. When you send in the questions to the email address, our intent is to get the right staff there so that we can provide those answers either as part of the CRO update, or we'll ask a staff member to talk in more details on it. If you have a question, I'm sure there's 20 other people out there who have the same question. So that's why we'd like to get them so that we can put it out to everyone. And then Alyssa, if you'd like to talk about the engagement strategy.
Yeah, so Olivia, I spoke with you and still, doing some research on what has been successful in other places. Some ideas, you know, that you jogged and others I spoke to, is definitely doing it in a way where we're doing multiple engagement efforts and then having it all combined. So that would be thinking about having a survey that goes out, thinking about having focus group meetings where we're talking to a particular group and we're doing something, you know, like an online meeting like this. But I'm also doing kind of more broader meetings, thinking about maybe the way that we run some of the budget meetings where it's kind of open to all. So just thinking about, you know, kind of some direct outreach where we're asking specific people about specific things, but then also keeping it open-ended in other instances, and trying to, at least the way that I'm considering going forward, is doing as much as we can virtually. But if, you know, come January, things are a little bit better and there is an opportunity to do something in person that's safe, or anything in person that's safe, definitely considering that, because I know that there are people that are harder to reach if you're doing online only.
Hi, everyone. I was unmuted. Is it okay if I ask my question?
Yes, I was just going to recommend.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Hi, this is Alala. I'm from Catalyst, Miami. I know it's been a while, but I was wondering what the update was for the Miami Forever Bond for the next batch of projects, and how you all are intending on selecting those. We've had some previous conversations. I don't know exactly the staff that are on the call, but some of the staff around like doing deeper community engagement around that project selection and the process to inform like how it's built out. And I just wanted to know what y'all were thinking around that.
Okay, looking to see if we have someone from the Miami Forever Bond here. I don't think, okay, but bottom line is Tranche 1 is well underway. I don't have the exact numbers right now, but we've had several $1 million worth of construction that's already started. We have not started putting together the Tranche 2 yet. We've been talking about some of the criteria, and I will be looking for someone from Hector or
Chris is raising his hand, so Chris he looks like he's ready to jump in.
Yeah, Chris, why don't you take this one?
Sure. So good afternoon. This is Chris Rose. I'm the budget director, and as of October 1st, the Miami Forever Bond has come from Hector over to my office. A lot of the same staff will be working on it, and Hector is going to be focusing along with Alan and Lara and several of our other directors on getting the projects built. So the $53 million that was in Tranche 1 is out and underway. We are still in the high teens of what has been spent, but we have a lot of projects that are coming out of design and into construction in the next few months. So you'll see that pick up pretty quickly. As far as the next tranche, we're actually thinking about it a little differently going forward. Instead of just picking the next tranche of projects, we're going to pick the rest of the projects in the Miami Forever Bond. So we've started internally putting together some of our thoughts on it, and we will be doing public engagement going forward. One of the big things, and this is sort of my segue back to Alan, is one of the big things is getting that stormwater master plan complete, or complete enough to start putting projects together in that $192 million worth of sea level rise and flood prevention section. So we'll be coming together. It's looking like a time frame of having something ready for our city commission in the spring coming up. So the public engagement will be coming up, I'd say January, February, March is what we're looking at right now. Does that answer the question, Bilal?
Yes, that's so helpful, Chris. Thank you so much. And it's exciting to see that the public engagement is happening before it gets to the commission. Last time it was, I remember it was December, and it was announced. So it's good to be able to talk about it before. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hello, yes, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Hello, yes, my name is Mihai Preda. I'm working with the Fridays for Future Students, Fridays for Future Parents, Miami. My question is about outreach, and that is the climate emergency is in a way similar to the coronavirus emergency, except that it threatens human civilization, unlike the coronavirus. So I believe we can learn a lot from the coronavirus in the sense of we can ask the question, how is it that in March, within 1 week, everybody in the city knew that we are in a public health emergency? And could we use some of that knowledge to spread the word about the climate emergency that we're in to the entire population of Miami, the 470,000 people in Miami? That is my question. Anybody would like to address it? How can we spread the word to the entire population?
I'll just say that, you know, part of what we're doing right now is a community engagement that's far more robust than we've ever done before, both on the city side with making sure that all the resources are available to the public that oftentimes are not coalesced together. And then I think on the community side, I think you guys are doing a wonderful job of, in your social media in particular. I see a lot of community activists who are doing a wonderful job on social media, getting the word out there about the importance of taking these issues seriously. We are willing to do, you know, you have my full support in terms of leveraging any of my accounts, whether they be Instagram or Twitter or whatever, social media wise. And we also have a full-blown communications department. And we have communications teams that allowed us to do things on the media level. So if there's anything that you think we can do from a press conference to, you know, on the communication side, we're open to ideas.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And Mayor, I would add on top of that, that we have learned so much about ways to communicate and to work together over the past 9 months because of the COVID crisis, that now it's changed our way of doing business, and we can take some of those lessons learned to apply to climate resilience as well. Melissa.
Hi, my name is Melissa Abdo. I'm the regional director based here in Miami for a nationwide nonprofit, National Parks Conservation Association. And I have 2 questions, but first I really wanted to applaud all of you for bringing so many city leaders together. Mayor Suarez, I think it's fantastic that you're starting with robust community engagement. So really just commend you all for that. My first question is, and forgive me, I'm not super familiar with this, but Mayor Suarez, you had mentioned that at some point the city is looking to get some general sort of accountability indices online on a website. You mentioned, you know, those might be around sea level rise and flooding, or how the GHG mitigation plan is progressing, or even tree planting. And so my question there is, you know, I know that'll be a process, I'm sure, in rolling that out, but it would be wonderful as it gets rolled out to learn how partners in the community, our nonprofit organizations and others, local academics can help in that effort and help in supplying that data. So that's my first question. Will there be opportunities for partners to help in that?
We don't have unfortunately the bandwidth to collect all the data, and, you know, like for example, you know, Waterkeeper, which is constantly testing, you know, our water quality. We want to be able to use their platforms and their resources to build our platform, right? I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't leverage all these community resources that we have and make them easy and understandable. What comes to the city, right? So it comes to the city, but really, we're just a collection of all these organizations that are doing such great work in our community, and just giving them a platform for us to be able to come up with a coherent message of where we want to go and how successful we are getting there.
That's fantastic to hear. So yeah, it sounds like what the city will very much be sort of a repository and kind of centralizing what communities can offer. Wonderful. And I'll be really quick. My second question is just, I noticed that the city's review of GHG emissions noted that transportation was a major sector. And kind of like what Ms. Todd mentioned just now, we've learned so many things about this. We're also looking at novel ways of addressing transportation, such as, bring this one office or home doctor, but novel ways we can talk address the transportation since COVID began. And thank you so much. That's it.
Doctor, and I would say that that part of our carbon neutrality too is the hope that less people need to use their cars. Frankly, that's a huge part of solving the issue. And also, it helps myself traffic. Something that Dr. Francisco a lot about, and Jeremy, our planning department, which is the notion that we design our cities and we plan our cities under a certain set of, I don't know who some of these also need some background here. We plan our cities and plan for our cities and expend money on the basis of certain assumptions, right? And the model pre-COVID, because I spent a lot of time on this in my work as a TPO member, Transportation Planning Organization or Metropolitan Planning Organization member, was initially how we can get the most volume of people to work most efficient. Right? That's why the conversation was completely around mass transit, and then what's the most efficient, cost-effective way of doing that. I think the conversation has changed a little bit post-COVID, and I think we're not still 100% certain of how this revolution is going to continue or how it's going to finalize itself. But I mean, look at this. This is a great example. I mean, how difficult would it have been for us to put together something like this in a non-technological platform? I mean, it just would have been really, really complicated to do. It's doable. It's not undoable, but it's so much more efficient, so much easier for us to do this. And we're able to get as much or more accomplished. In fact, we're probably more efficient because the minute we get off this, we can be doing whatever it is the next thing that we're doing in our day. So I totally agree that transportation planning is something that's going to evolve, just like retail has evolved. And it's incumbent on us as a city to be on the forefront of that evolution.
Okay, next I have Dayco.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Dinah. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you, everybody, for hosting this meeting. My name is Dinah Cortez. I actually work for the Miami-Dade Public Library System. I was one of the initiators for Climate of Art. It's an art exhibition that presents climate awareness, environmental awareness, and resiliency. So I wanted to first and foremost thank everybody for hosting this, because it's I'm speaking for my students and for the patrons of the library system that sometimes come to me and are very thankful for the resources that the library are providing. And as far as I wanted to address the outreach part. As far as maybe more of an idea, this is what I'm providing, not more of a question, but if we have more questions, obviously, we could obviously talk about them. But as far as reaching out to the community, I think this is very important, especially at this level. Yesterday was when I learned about this meeting. So I'm very thankful to the Clio Institute. I know Olivia keeps in touch and is up to date with everything, and she keeps me up to date. So thank you so much, Olivia. But I wanted to, put myself out there and welcome anybody who would be willing to, especially when it comes to spreading awareness for resiliency in 305. I don't know if anybody would want to, collab in that aspect. And I'm not only speaking only for the Miami-Dade Public Library System, but I speak for myself as a resident of the West Kendall area. I'm looking at more of the community aspect levels rather than budget planning, as I feel a lot of community members don't really come to those meetings because they may not quite understand them. But when it comes to being actively taking part in park cleanups or community engagements, working with artists, with local environmental artists, that's how the community starts to develop and that's how we start gaining that interest. And I think this would be a great path to really push forward as far as promoting the Resilience Office and as far as working with the mayor.
I think it's great. And I want to just reiterate something that Elisa said, which is that this is the first of many meetings. Our objective is to have this on a regular basis. And, hopefully they won't all be sort of presentation driven. We wanted to give you an overview on some things that were really important, but, maybe the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes will be presentations and the remainder will be for open dialogue like this. And I think we're going to continue to do this because this is, if not the most important issue, one of the most important issues when you consider all the components of resiliency, it's probably the most important issue in our city. when you consider, what it means to be resilient, if you think about the whole concept. So, there's nothing more important as a mayor, or really as a member of the staff, than to be heading in the direction of making our city more resilient, particularly in moments like this after COVID.
I just want to say that we have 4 hands raised, and that's probably all we'll have time for. So just to call them out: Jacqueline Marika, you're next, Vicky, Caroline Lewis, and then Myra Cruz, and then that's probably all we'll have time for.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline, and I'm working with Fridays for Future Miami. And I just want to say, first off, thank you so much for dedicating your time to creating this climate action forum. But my question to you guys is, what are you guys planning to do to reduce our ecological impact on areas by like reducing construction projects? Are we going to be reaching out to these construction management businesses? What are some of your plans for that? I'm sorry if my question was a little confusing, but I hope you guys understood what I'm trying to say.
Can you maybe repeat it a little bit?
I was like, Alan, maybe we want to talk about the water permit.
Mayor Suarez, I think this was specifically talking about how we're going to cut down on the impacts to water and the environment at construction sites. And I think the ordinance that just passed might be.
So exactly, and that's what I thought you were asking, Jackie. I wasn't sure. So we just, and I got to give the vice chair and all the commission a lot of credit. We just passed an ordinance for the first time ever. It was horrifying to see the images of constant pollution, contamination into our bay on a weekly basis of silt plumes, the fish kill, and all the things that we've been experiencing in our bay over the last a few months in particular. And so our commission took action, and I was proud to sign that legislation, which gives the city the ability to, number one, stop a project, which we didn't have the ability to do before. We can actually go to a developer and actually stop them from working. Number two, it increases the fines by over 100%. And number three, it actually gives us the ability potentially to revoke their certificate of use and just totally hamper their ability to continue. So that is a very, very heavy set of tools. Obviously, we're going to see how that works. I think the message has been sent to the development community that we expect them to build their projects with a much greater emphasis and view on how it impacts not just their own site, but the bay and natural resources that are the community assets. And so we're going to see how it plays out. But I'm really proud of our commission for acting swiftly on that.
Okay, Vicky, I think you're next.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for hosting this meeting and for beginning a series of these conversations. I, in Monroe County, I have been involved with the compact over the years, and I'm very interested in what Alyssa was speaking about in terms of a committee, the way that various departments can be pulled in. And I was curious as to the diagram and layout that she had shown, whether or not those individuals are to be drawn from paid staff within the municipalities or within the county, or if those are volunteers. And I'd just like to sort of background my question a little bit in that I served on the Monroe County Climate Change Advisory Committee. We advise our county commissioners for about 8 years. I chaired the commission for 3 years, and we were volunteers, and we've since sunsetted our committee, in part because we, especially me, felt very strongly that those persons who earn salaries from taxpayer dollars need to think about climate change and resilience building 24/7 and in all aspects of their job. And so I proposed that there really was no need for volunteers because everybody who's paid needs to be thinking that way. So I'm curious about this commission or committee that you'll be putting together, if that will be, again, volunteer persons or really tasking the taxpayer earning persons, persons being paid with taxpayer dollars with a focus on climate and resilience. Thank you.
I think I can answer your question. We're actually doing both. The Climate Resilience Committee are volunteers that are appointed by the commissioners or the mayor, and they participate on this committee. They are doing it out of their own time, and each one of them, they bring particular skill sets that we don't have within the city staff. There are several members come from academia, and they bring a different perspective in what we're doing. Within the city staff, we have the Resilience Action Group, which is department directors, the city manager's office, and a number of members of the staff to come together and talk about how we are collaborating within our own areas of expertise in order to put together policies or enact programs. So really, we're trying to do both, not one or the other.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Caroline Lewis. I'm with the Clio Institute. Really appreciate this forum. Mayor Suarez and Alan and Alyssa and Jose Regalado back in 2015 when I had a town hall in Liberty City and you showed up. I have only gained more respect for you. So I have three very quick questions. Number one is, any progress, Mayor, on adding a youth rep to the Climate Resilience Committee?
Yes, my understanding is, and I don't know if Jeremy is on the call, but I don't see his name on here. But my understanding is that oh, you are. Can you just give him an update on the youth representative?
Yes, sir. So we spoke to the legal department and the clerk, and we said that we asked him, how is it possible to structure this? He said that it is entirely possible to structure a youth representative as in a teenager who would be a non-voting member. However, legal advised that we could create 2 seats for young adults ranging from age 18 to around age 30, and that could be written into the legislation. And the legal department is currently working on how they would structure that legislation to expand the board to include young adults as voting members. Again, we're happy to discuss some of our more youthful members having a role, but that's the current status.
Music to my ears, thank you. My second question is, the solid waste data, Alyssa, when you showed that pie chart of our greenhouse gas inventory baseline, I was a little surprised at solid waste. And I'm wondering how we're measuring the solid waste of the City of Miami residents. I know recycling has gone to the back burner. And if we're incinerating, are we capturing that data in the greenhouse gas inventory?
So in the greenhouse gas inventory, we capture all the waste that is picked up by the City of Miami, and then the waste numbers from the haulers that responded to us, which is probably not all of them, because the commercial buildings and the multifamily have to get their own waste haulers. So we had to reach out to those people. The value is basically the City of Miami. All of the waste goes to waste to energy, and then there's residual products, about 10% of the total volume that goes to a landfill after that. So it's basically the waste to energy emissions from whatever we could account for, which might be actually slightly less than what the total is for the city, because we couldn't get all the commercial haulers to respond.
Thank you, Alyssa. Final question. The Miami Forever Bond at one point was discussing affordable housing subsidies of $40,000 for owner-occupied homeowners to get $40,000 to retrofit their house for hurricane preparedness and resilience. The money never seemed to come out. So maybe Chris can answer this, or somebody knows, is that still on the agenda, and are people getting money?
I think what you mean is that I believe it was a $4 million pot of money that was reserved. And I always thought of it as a anti-climate gentrification fund, where people would be able to get basically grants to retrofit their homes whether it was, you know, redoing a roof or doing impact windows, etc. And the only condition would be that they would not be able to sell their house. Obviously, we don't want to gentrify, so the idea is not that they take the advantage of the improvements and then turn around and flip the property. Right? We want people to stay in their homes, and we want people to be able to have the option of staying in their homes, which in impoverished areas, they may not have the resources to be able to spend money on impact windows or roof, and may be forced to sell just because of the fear that they have that they're not going to be safe. So that was the fund. I would like to, you know, have Chris give us a status update on that. I know there was some discussion about it at the last commission meeting, but like you, I'm equally curious.
This is George. Mr. Mayor, I can give an update on that. The funds is ready. As you know, we had an increase in the amount. It was 50,000. We went up to 70,000, and the commissioners wanted to find proof that we really need that kind of money. So we're preparing it to be able to send to commissioners. But the whole package is now with legal, the state attorney's office. They're reviewing it, and once they are done, as you know, at last commission meeting, commissioners wanted us to do it as a lottery. So we've changed the program to be a lottery, which will be at City Hall. So once the application is ready, we will have a flyer and an announcement so that the entire residents will be aware of it, and then we will take applications and then have a lottery so that people can take part in the program.
So applications are not yet open, is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's not yet open, yes.
Okay, well, let us know, please, because that's really, really important. There are so many homeowners that are being gentrified. They still have tarps on their roofs from Hurricane Irma, and it's really a cause for great concern. But thank you for accelerating this.
Yes, we'll do that. Thank you.
And, last person. Right, you get the last question of the day.
Hi, everyone. This is Myra. Hopefully you can hear me well. Cool.
Sorry about that. I think I accidentally booted you.
Gosh, Alyssa, no, it's okay. Zoom, right? But yes, I'm with Catalyst Miami, and we've been working with a bunch of different groups through the Miami Climate Alliance around disconnections that FPL started doing this month. And I was just curious if the city had any updates on any efforts that you might be taking on to provide relief at this time to families that are behind on their bills. We know from a recent report from FPL that it's like several thousand of residential customers that are behind. So I'm just wondering if you're working with the county or if you're doing any major outreach around LIHEAP or any other programs that might be coming up the pipeline that we should know about or that we can help spread the word about or work with you on.
Well, first of all, Myra, thank you so much for the question. I think that's why these forums are so important, and I think that's why they're so they're so needed, so we can get real-time data from you on things that are happening. We've been, you guys know publicly, very publicly, we've been in a huge titanic fight with the county over CARES Act funding that we believe we should have gotten but did not get. Based on our population, we would have been eligible for $80 million worth of CARES funding. And my strong suspicion is that Miami-Dade County has not spent even a fraction of the money that they've received from the federal government. And so they have a December 31st deadline. The latest I'm hearing is that we're going to get somewhere between $8 and $12 million, from a pot of money that they separated. It was $25 million that they separated, which was for future programs. The other 75 was supposed to be for reimbursements. So my understanding is it's from the pot of future programming, which would allow us the possibility of creating what we've done before, either rent relief or utilities relief program, which should address specifically what you're talking about. It's the first time that I hear about it from FPNL. Part of the biggest issue we've seen with all these programs, whether they be federal, state, and local programs, is a lot of these governments and institutions don't talk to each other. So it would have been nice if I would have gotten a call from FPNL saying like, hey, just want to give you a heads up, we're doing this, for me. And then I could have said, well, why don't you wait a little bit? Because we should be getting this money down the pipeline. And this might be able to be something we can partner with to help prevent this from happening. So I appreciate you bringing up the issue because obviously this plus, foreclosure moratoriums and eviction moratoriums, which are going to be lifted soon, are two critical issues that if we don't have resources, it's going to be very hard for us to address the needs that are going to be in our community.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to, sorry, this is George. I wanted to add that we already have a program, but that was by lottery, where we are paying FPL bills and water and sewer bills. So we've been paying them, but unfortunately, you should be in the program first. So now that we know there are others out there who have this program, we probably need to come up and see how we can assist those individuals.
The beauty of it, and one of the reasons why, and I got to jump up, but one of the reasons why I advocated so hard for the funding from Miami-Dade County is because, as you can see, we already have these programs established, and all we have to do is fund them and then get them out. The county didn't even have any of this built. So that's why they're so far behind in trying to actually deploy the money. We had this built. We had this built actually before the CARES Act even started, before it even passed, because we were using CDBG money and we had some state money that allowed us to build out these programs. So we had the criteria already established. We had the mechanism. We knew how to distribute it. I mean, all that, which takes time. Unfortunately, it takes time. And I don't think that they were totally understanding of how long it was going to take for them to do this, how complicated it was.
Yeah, no, thank you for that update. And I think we're definitely happy to set up meetings with you to give you more information that we have, and also see, once you get that money, like how it can be used and allocated, because we definitely know people that haven't been able to qualify for LIHEAP or have ran into a lot of obstacles. So we have like a running list of things that could be done better.
We love it. Love to help get your input on that.
Great, thank you.
And Mayor, I think that is the last questions. I don't know if you have any closing comments, and I'd just like to remind everybody that the next meeting will be November 24th at 3 p.m. So if you can put that on your calendars.
The schedule is last Tuesday of the month.
Oh, and I think we lost the mayor actually. Okay, but I'd like to thank everybody for participating today. This is a fluid environment that we're doing. We're creating something new here. So if you have recommendations or ideas on how we can improve on it, please email it to us so that we can adjust for the next time. Send us the questions ahead of time. We'll try and get the answers to you earlier in the format, and we'll cut down on the amount of briefings so we have more time for dialogue back and forth. But thank you very much for coming today, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.